because it wasn't fair to limit him to the hours of 11 a.m. till 1 p.m., you can now enjoy Walt Bonetti whenever you want. The Walt Bonetti Podcast is on now.
Welcome to episode 18 of the Walt Bonetti Podcast for January 29th. The Walt Bonetti Podcast is brought to you by our friends at the Original Italian Pie of Kenner and Coppa Donut. In just a few minutes, I'll be telling you about a California state senator who banned the words he and she. A man stole a car and then returned it, but he left behind some incriminating evidence. And Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards touts jobs, but at what cost? But first, these quick hits. 5 men were arrested in a Metro New Orleans child pornography investigation by the Louisiana Bureau of Investigation's Cyber Crime Unit. Nam Vu of Covington was charged with 4 counts of producing pornography involving juveniles under 13 and 30 counts of possessing pornography involving juveniles under 13. He was also charged with 8 counts of molestation of a juvenile under 13. David Reese of Metairie was charged with 250 counts of possession of porn involving juveniles under 13 and 250 counts of possession of porn involving juveniles. Reese also admitted to molesting a 4-year-old boy at his mother's daycare. Justin Pilgrim of Kenner was charged with 17 counts of possession of pornography involving juveniles. David Pizzolatto of Chalmette was charged with 200 counts of possession of pornography involving juveniles under 13 and 1 count of distributing pornography involving juveniles under 13. And Andrew Smith of Kenner was charged with 6 counts of possessing pornography involving juveniles under 13. John Helmers, fired as Kenner's fire chief in 2017, has dropped the appeal of his termination. Helmers was hired as fire chief by Ed Muniz in 2007 and kept on by Mike Yenny and interim mayor Mike Segur. Several months after he took office, current Kenner Mayor Ben Zahn fired Helmers for insubordination in a dispute over whether the fire chief or the mayor could hire firefighters. Helmers appealed to Kenner's Civil Service Board and lost, and then appealed again to the 24th JDC, where he has now dropped his appeal. A Gretna man was arrested after he punched a man from behind on Bourbon Street last week and put the man in a coma. Quentin Marshall was charged with 1 count of second-degree battery. The victim is not currently in a coma, but is still in critical condition. The debut performance of Galactic and returning performances by favorites including Irma Thomas and Amanda Shaw highlight this year's French Quarter Fest lineup in April. And now this. If you're thinking about what you're going to have for dinner tonight, or possibly giving yourself or your spouse a night off from cooking, or treating the family, make sure you think about my friends over at the Original Italian Pie of Kenner. You can dine in. They're located at 3600 Williams Boulevard, just a little bit north of West Esplanade. Or you can call 469-4999, and they will deliver your food to you, whether you're at your home or your office. Technology. What a wonderful thing. The Original Italian Pie has incredible salads, sandwiches, wraps, calzones, pasta, and great pizza. So no matter what you're in the mood for, if you want good food and you want it now and you want it fresh, make sure you think about my friends at the Original Italian Pie of Kenner. 3600 Williams Boulevard, 469-4999. If you want a great donut, you know by now where to go. Coppa Donut, 2321 West Esplanade in the Kenner Market Center. But did you know if you want a great breakfast, you also go to Coppa Donut? And now, if you want a great king cake, you can go to Coppa Donut as well. Coppa Donut is great donuts and a whole lot more. Coppa Donut is at 2321 West Esplanade in the Kenner Market Center. Coppa Donut's telephone number is 305-4858. You can call ahead. They'll have your order ready for pickup. And they are taking pre-orders on king cake because you don't want to be left out and you don't want to be disappointed. When you want a great king cake, make sure you think about Coppa Donut because Coppa Donut is great donuts and a whole lot more.
Maybe you can take some consolation in the fact that something you created is making so many people happy.
Oh, look at me. I'm making people happy. I'm the magical man from Happy Land in a gumdrop house on Lollipop Lane.
Walt Bonetti.
Welcome back. Thanks for listening to the podcast. The Advocate's Tyler Bridges has an article today about John Bel Edwards touting new jobs, but not highlighting the cost to state taxpayers for these jobs. Look, it's great highlighting wins for our state, and we all want new high-paying jobs. But at what cost? I've talked a lot about the state ITEP program, the Industrial Tax Exemption Program, and how it gives away millions of dollars in local property taxes to companies and exempts them from those property taxes, taking away needed money for fire departments, police departments, roads, schools. And this is a state board that is appointed and accountable to no one, and they give away millions of dollars. But the state also gives away millions more in tax exemptions based upon job creation and wages. I have no issue with the state giving companies a state corporate income tax exemption based upon the number of jobs they're hiring. That's accountable. But what happens when those companies often fail to deliver on their jobs and wage commitments? Usually nothing. Governor Edwards was in New Orleans Monday to tour DXC Technology. DXC is a Virginia-based company that opened a New Orleans office last year. DXC said they would employ 300 people in New Orleans within a year and 2,000 by 2025. The company appears to be on track to hit the first goal. The state offered DXC $115 million in tax exemptions and incentives, and the city of New Orleans offered another $6.5 million if the company reaches employment benchmarks. This is an example that worked, but there are far too many examples in our state's history where it hasn't worked. Our state gives away far too much in tax exemptions to companies and then does not hold them accountable because there's no one who can hold them accountable. A school board? No, that doesn't work. And if you do focus on a company that isn't performing the way that they said they would to get the incentives that they asked for, you risk losing the company entirely and losing the jobs that they did create. But when you see states across the country getting new investments from businesses for plants and distribution centers and giving away far less than Louisiana does, you have to ask the question, why? Are our state's leaders just bad negotiators? Do we offer too much? Why do we have to give away so much to get a plant or a distribution center here in Louisiana? Why do we need to do that? In North Carolina, the Florida grocery store chain Publix is building a new distribution center. They're investing over $1 billion of their money and creating over 1,000 new jobs, paying on average over $60,000 a year. And what are they getting from the state? About $300 million in corporate income tax exemptions based upon the jobs that they're creating. No property tax exemptions, nothing like that. If North Carolina and other states can do it, we should be able to lure big projects here without having to give away everything. And as I've said before, no non-elected state board should be allowed to give away local tax breaks. It shouldn't happen. Now, if a local school board, if a local city council, if the mayor of a town wants to do that and make that kind of commitment on behalf of their jurisdiction, that's fine. That's their business. We as voters can hold them accountable if things don't work. We can't hold an appointed state board accountable. It doesn't work that way. But it does in Louisiana.
Now, the Walt Bonetti Podcast Dumbass of the Day.
California State Senator and Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman, or Chairperson, or Chair whoever, State Senator Hannah Beth Jackson is our dumbass of the day. The Santa Barbara Democrat announced that only, quote, gender-neutral pronouns will be used during committee hearings. State Senator Jackson said, "Our first order of business is to approve the committee rules. I'd like to note, in respecting the fact that we are now a state recognizing the non-binary designation as a gender, he and she, we are now merging them, so we are using what my grammar teacher would have had a heart attack over. We are using the phrase they and replacing other designations, so it's a gender-neutral designation. Basically, that's the primary reforms and revisions to the committee rules." In the spirit of gender neutrality, for the rules of this committee, we now designate the chair as they, even though it's just one. The world is a different place. My grammar teacher is long gone, and we won't be hearing from her, the senator noted, before correcting herself. From them. From they. For nonsense like this, State Senator Hannah Beth Jackson is our dumbass of the day. In Lincoln Park, Michigan, an unidentified man was caught on videotape entering a home through an unlocked side door about 2:30 in the morning. When the family dog began barking, the man swiped the keys to their Ford Explorer and took off with the vehicle. He returned the car about 5 hours later, but he left inside a receipt with some incriminating evidence. At 5:29 a.m., the man bought a breakfast burrito at a local McDonald's. I guess he really wanted a breakfast burrito. A Texas bank robber used an unusual getaway vehicle, a rented scooter. Police sent a subpoena to Uber, which owns the jump scooter the robber used, and got the robber's name, email, phone, and credit card info. Shortly after, Austin PD arrested 19-year-old Luca Montgomery for robbery. Well, that puts a wrap on today's podcast. Thanks again for listening. And if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, story ideas, topics, anything at all, feel free to email me at waltbradio@gmail.com. Don't forget, please support our great sponsors, the Original Italian Pie of Kenner, 3600 Williams Boulevard, just a little bit north of West Esplanade. You can dine in or call 469-4999, and they will deliver your food to your home or your office. And Coppa Donut, 2321 West Esplanade in the Kenner Market Center. Coppa Donut is now selling king cakes, and you can pre-order them, so you can be sure they'll have one with your name on it. Coppa Donut is great donuts and a whole lot more. As we tell you every day, please go out and be a blessing. Change someone's life today, even if it's your own. Thanks again for listening.
Walt Bonetti.